there are tremendous conflicts in which individuals resent each other, in which the family situation is falling apart, and hard feeling is abroad in the land in almost all homes. The only answer to the situation is that all this bad feeling does not add up to anything. The only answer to it is that each individual must ultimately come to the point where he recognizes the need to conserve energy by wasting none of it on dissension. And therefore, in a quiet and pleasant way, he adjusts to that which is necessary, and he quietly steps aside against that which is unnecessary. He does all that it is supposed he should do. He does not walk out on a duty. He does not avoid a responsibility. He does not reject a lesson, but he accepts all of these things quietly and with dignity. This was the code of Francis de Assis, and it is a very difficult code to excel. But it is also the code by means of which energy is restored. Energy is saved. Energy is guarded by this type of thing. Now, the next phase of the energy is that every attitude that we have has some type of a reflex on the body itself. Every temper fit does much more than upset us emotionally. It upsets the body chemistry. Every mistake that we make in the personality, every act of violence, every joining into riots, into violence against society, everything of this kind accomplishes no good primarily, but also damages the person who is guilty of it. Now, people will say, well, there are 100,000 people that don't like something and are fighting it. Probably true. But the moment you join that group, you will begin to destroy yourself. And each of those that is in that group is destroying themselves rather than achieving their ends. And if we look around us today to see what violence is producing, we see that it produces nothing but violence. And that violence in our personal lives, whether it's intellectual or physical, produce nothing but distress. So it's all of these emotional pressures, jealousy and vanity and self-centeredness and rejection of the common experiences of life, mistakes of this kind interfere with health. They begin to break down the body chemistry, because the body itself, like the body of the solar system, is an outlet, a means for the expression of energy. And when the body is corrupted, the flow of energy is disturbed. The moment the flow of energy is disturbed, various types of obstruction arise. And wherever obstruction arises in the human body, death sets in. Obstruction is tension. Tension arises from the misuse of energy. And wherever it exists, it must, in every possible way, be relaxed. Now, most people who come and talk to you about these things say, yes, they would be very happy to relax the energy, get rid of the tension, and do all these things if other people would agree with them. Everyone would be able to live beautifully if somebody else wasn't interfering. But there is always a person or a circumstance that is nagging. And this, in consequence, forces the individual to build up these defenses of tension and stress. This is entirely erroneous. The more tension there is on the outside, the more need there is for complete internal passivity, a peace. Now, a peace also suggests a number of other things. One, where to find it? Well, that's curing itself pretty much these days. There's no place you can go. There is no place where you can be sure that peace is going to stay very long. There is no security in human society today. Perhaps the first lesson this teaches us is to get over the idea of escaping. Now, we do still have certain monastic escapes, certain retreats, places of this kind. And somewhere in the midst of the distant mountains, we find hermits who have left society to cultivate their own detachments. But for the most part, all of these people have weakened themselves by these attitudes. There is no way of gaining a position in life where relaxation is available without personal effort. There is no relaxation unless the individual makes the changes within himself. If he makes these changes within himself, relaxation is possible wherever he is. There's the old story about the Tibetan priests who do their meditation while surrounding a great bell that gongs all the time to disturb them, and they don't even hear it. You do not actually shut out the sounds around you or the pressures. You simply solve them by dissolving them in quietude. Quietude doesn't mean you accept what you do not believe or compromise anything. Quietude gives you the perfect calmness with which to make the simple decision of right and wrong, the simple solution of the problem without dramatization or emotionalization. Comes as the result of internal quietude. And internal quietude is the thing that helps to protect energy resources within yourself. Without this internal quietude, your energy resources cannot be adequately preserved. Now, another problem that then comes along, of course, is that the body with its energies has a few remarks to make and a few contributions to this problem. Today, for example, we have more people health conscious in this country than probably ever before in history. And I think it is safe to say we have more sick people. I read not long ago that we have 80 million people in this country reducing, of whom 40 million are doing it wrong. We have people who are doing everything they can possibly do, but what are the motives? The motives to various forms of health have to be very carefully considered. Unless the motive for reduction is more than merely cosmetic, it is really very much a mistake. Because the real reason of all things is to protect and preserve health. And that which is not necessary to the protection and preservation of health is the occupation for the health seeker. All kinds of extreme methods are being used, mostly in an effort to compensate for extreme delinquencies. We have people who have followed up to 200 different diets. Some of them, of course, we'll never know what happened because they didn't last through the 200 diets. Around the middle of the list, they passed out. But of course, having passed out, they issued no affidavit or made no statement to discourage others. They just all kept on going. The problem with health, again, is energy preservation and protection. The purpose of food, which is derived largely from this great battery, which we call the earth, the energy of food is to maintain and protect life. Any form of nutrition which does not essentially fulfill this need is not necessary or advantageous. Many people eat all kinds of things that make them miserable in an effort to accomplish some cosmetic result. This is not the answer. If the person understands life, if the person comes into direct contact with the rules of the game, he will naturally and of his own accord heed those rules. But if they are forced upon him by others, or he is lured into them by ulterior motives, then this is not true. So in the matter of maintaining the physical health, again, the physical health depends upon the quietude of the body and the fact that the body does that which it was created to do. The body has a purpose. If that purpose is fulfilled, the body is happy. But if the body is made the object of too much concern, it becomes embarrassed and begins to result in defects of health. The body should be left very quiet to the fulfillment of its own needs. And on one occasion, Plato referred to a young dude in the Athenian colony, Alcibiades. He said, here we have a red dagger and a jeweled sheath. We have a body that is just the body of a fop. A body that is covered with the finest raiments and the greatest jewelry, and which has a great pride in itself. it is nothing. There is nothing there but surface. Now this is something that ultimately will destroy the body because surface alone leads to dissipation. The body is a useful purpose. It is there for us to use. If we abuse it, we suffer. If we use it, we gain a great deal of help and cooperation from it. But the body is not to be intended as the ruler of the life. The body is not to be taken as proceeding in authority or in purpose all the rest of our existence. We are not here to be servants of the flesh. We are not here to devote all our waking time to trying to develop muscle or brawn. We are here to use the body as we would use a good vehicle. If we have a good car, we will keep it up because we need it. In the old days, we had a horse and buggy. We fed the horse well so that it was properly curried and stable in order that it might fulfill its purpose. But gradually in this modern world, we have developed the famous paint sign motto, save the surface and you save all. Most people kill themselves trying to save the surface. So use the body, but decide how to use it. And recognize that in the conservation of energy, that the complete cooperation between the body and the person in the body is necessary to energy conservation. We have to plan our lives. I suppose Muhammad was one of the best life planners that we know. He divided the 24-hour rule of the 24-hour of the day, the 24-inch rule, into 3 8-hour sections.